You're watching Cape Media News, brought to you by Cape Media Center.
Tonight on Cape Media News, Massachusetts enacts new gun laws.
Plus, community college is now free statewide.
And a recap of this week in sports.
These stories and more coming up next on Cape Media News.
Good evening, it's August 2nd, and welcome to Cape Media News, your source for hyperlocal news that matters. I'm Jamie Horton.
And I'm Mitch Stock. On Tuesday, Governor Maura Healey signed into law what's being called the state's most significant gun safety legislation in a decade. An act modernizing firearms laws updates Massachusetts' existing firearms laws to address issues such as untraceable ghost guns and 3D printed guns, enhances the red flag law, further protects safety in public spaces, and increases violence prevention programming in the state. At a press conference for the signing, Governor Healey spoke to the importance of keeping the community safe.
We lead in Massachusetts because we know what's at stake. It's about people's lives. It's about the health and well-being of neighborhoods, of communities. It's about young people's futures and making sure that they have a future. And that's why this law is so important. And it's why we take on this national crisis, this ongoing and needless epidemic of gun violence. We want our communities to be safe and healthy. We have a duty, an obligation to prevent these harms. And we know that strong, smart gun laws save lives. Because to a family grieving an unthinkable loss, to a community traumatized continually by violence, to a victim of domestic violence, doing better than other states isn't good enough, because we hold ourselves to a higher standard. And that standard is about ending the pain, ending the trauma, ending the gun violence. That's why we're not resting on really important legislation. I want to give credit to the legislature for enacting what it's done over the years in this realm. But the work continues, and especially in the face of misguided Supreme Court decisions, it's up to us here in Massachusetts to look after and protect our own.
The Supreme Court case in question was the Bruen decision, settled in the summer of 2022. New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruen is a landmark case related to the Second Amendment. The case concerned the constitutionality of the 1911 Sullivan Act, a New York state law requiring applicants for a pistol concealed carry license to show proper cause or a special need distinguishable from that of the general public in their application. In a 6-3 decision, the Supreme Court ruled that New York's law was unconstitutional. This promoted Massachusetts state legislators to proactively draft new legislation to combat possible legal challenges to existing gun laws. We reached out to a local activist, Donna Wald, president of Grandmothers Against Gun Violence Cape Cod, who has been a vocal proponent of the bill, to give us her thoughts.
It's one of the most comprehensive pieces of legislation I've ever seen, and I work on a national basis as well. It's really forward-thinking in that it shores up the laws we have, and it addresses new things like the ghost guns and stuff that we've always needed to address. And it leans heavily on community intervention funding also, which is key in this issue that we have. It expands the red flag law, which I have always said that school administrators should be involved in red flag laws because they see the kids every day. They know the kids. They know what's going on in the families. So the addition of school administrators and mental health professionals to the red flag law is great. I mean, for me, that was one of the highlights of the total bill. It really needed to be done. We need to involve the schools because in the school shootings, it's critical. I mean, it's just critical. The schools are not empowered to do anything. So it leaves them in a really vulnerable spot, and we've seen what happens when that happens. After the Bruen decision, that rocked the whole nation, and everybody started showing up their laws. And we were, to their credit, we were right on the front end of that. And that's when all this started to churn up and said, we've been thinking about this forever. We got to do it, or we're going to see our laws in Massachusetts challenged. And we will anyway. Right now, the NRA has said that they are preparing a lawsuit for us. So luckily we have Maura Healey and Andrea Campbell, who are great on this. That's why I like the bill. It will put Massachusetts as the leading state in the nation for gun laws.
But not everyone is on board with the changes. We also spoke with Toby Leary of Cape Gun Works to find out what these changes to the law mean for gun owners on Cape.
If I can speak to the actual safety part of this, because that's what they're using in all media stories, that this is a gun safety is the buzzword. That's the dog whistle for gun confiscation, because that's what this leads to. Actually, the bill makes it way less safe, because what they're implying is that these evil features on so-called assault-style weapons are things that make it easier to shoot your gun. The state should deal with those who are the problem. You never make a law to control 2% of the population by enforcing a law for that 2% on 98%. So right now, they're making it harder for peaceful, lawful citizens to own and shoot guns. And if they overstep a boundary or a line that is an arbitrary rule that the Congress came up with, now they are a felon and face government violence and jail time. They like to shroud gun safety legislation in some net positive for society when it's not. All it is doing is making more arbitrary and capricious and, by the way, unconstitutional laws, and trying to make it even harder for peaceful, law-abiding citizens to continue to be that way.
Let us know what you think. Does this new law make Massachusetts more or less safe?
Every Wednesday night from 5 to 8 p.m., head to Main Street in Harwichport for Port Summer Night's free musical strolls. Stroll down Main Street to peruse local businesses with live music from musicians like Riptide, Katie Flynn, All Worn Out Jug Band, and many more. Visit harwichcc.com for the full musical lineup and locations.
The town of Barnstable and the American Library Association are calling for nominations for the 2025 I Love My Librarian Award. 10 librarians across the country will be awarded $5,000. Candidates must hold an American Library Association accredited master's degree in Library and Information Studies or school library media, and they must currently work in a public or school library in the United States. To nominate your favorite librarian, head to ilovelibraries.org.
The Stellwagen Bank National Marine Sanctuary is calling for the public's help in locating a missing whale tag. The approximately 6-inch non-evasive research tag has been likened to a large toy bug with suction cups for feet and an antenna on its head. The National Marine Sanctuary says the tag could wash ashore anywhere along the coast of Massachusetts. If you find the tag, use the contact information found on the tag or email stellwagen@noaa.gov.
The Yarmouth Substance Awareness Committee is hosting Recovery Resource Drop-In Nights at Swan Pond Village Community Center on the last Wednesday of each month. These free, confidential, safe events are designed to connect residents with local substance use disorder treatment providers and support agencies. Representatives will be present to help navigate access to treatment, counseling, and education for individuals and families struggling with substance use. For more information, email ysac@yarmouth.ma.us.
Head to the Cultural Center of Cape Cod from now until September 7th to see the brand new Wonderful Wizard of Oz exhibit. At the heart of this exhibition is Christina Schlesinger's The Dorothy paintings. The Cultural Center describes this collection of 13 mural-sized canvases as a fresh perspective that aptly portrays Dorothy as the symbol of youthful resilience and independence. Schlesinger's work demands attention while simultaneously depicting a delicateness and vulnerability rarely seen successfully in combination. In addition to this collection, the exhibit features several other Wizard of Oz-themed activities you won't want to miss. Learn more at cultural-center.org. Coming up after the break, free college and more. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Cape Media News. I'm Mitch Sock.
And I'm Jamie Horton. Last year, Governor Healy launched Mass Reconnect, a program that established free community college for Massachusetts residents aged 25 and older. Data from the Department of Higher Education shows that the program drove a 45% enrollment increase statewide, with a total of 8,411 students aged 25 and older enrolling in community college for the first year of the Mass Reconnect program. Governor Healy signed the fiscal year 2025 state budget earlier this week, which includes an update to the Mass Reconnect program, providing free community college for all students.
This budget also funds a historic expansion of college access across our state. Now, last year, we launched and funded Mass Reconnect. Mass Reconnect, the program that makes community college free for students 25 and older, which has already brought back thousands of people to school. It's been a game changer for them, for our workforce. This year's budget builds on that by making community college cost-free for all residents of our state through Mass Educate. Massachusetts will now have the most comprehensive free community college program in the United States. And I want to recognize the Senate President and members of the legislature for prioritizing that commitment, because it's a commitment that is going to save money and unlock opportunity for students all across our state. And as we expand career training partnerships at community colleges, it will help us build the workforce that we need to keep our economy driving forward.
Despite the success of this program, it has not been without pushback. Those in the community concerned with the source of the program's funding took to Facebook to express their frustration, stating that nothing is ever free in life. The state will raise our taxes and, in a matter of time, will implement a state sales tax on everything we buy to help cover the costs of the free college tuition. And, yay, more taxes for everyone! Despite the misconception, Mass Reconnect will be funded with $93 million from the Fair Share Amendment, also known as the Millionaire's Tax, which is a 4% surtax on residents making more than $1 million a year. The Fair Share Amendment, passed by voters in 2022, allocates this money specifically for public education and transportation infrastructure. We sat down with the president of Cape Cod Community College, John Cox, to see how this program impacts our community.
So when we look at the total distribution of the cost, if you will, on the Mass Reconnect, we saw a lot of the federal funding was taking care of the need for the students in terms of the tuition and fees. But overall, we were looking at about a 1,440 increase in total students over the entire year. When I look at how things were evolving over the course of last year, the governor rolled out the Mass Reconnect plan in March of 2023. And we were fortunate that we were at the table with our students when that was going live. As we moved closer to the beginning of the semester, even before Mass Reconnect was approved by the legislature and then ultimately signed by the governor, we saw an increase in enrollment at the college of about 7.5%. So our indication was that we're coming out of the pandemic, people are beginning to re-engage, and the community is beginning to look at the community college as a strong option for higher education. Once the legislation passed, we saw an additional bump up in enrollment for the fall of 2023 student enrollment. We increased total to about 11% for the semester. When we got to spring semester, we saw a 30% increase over the previous year. Now, as we have been progressing towards the fall semester of 2024, we're seeing similar substantial increases in the enrollment for September, even before Mass Educate, the latest version of free community college, was approved by the legislature. So I suspect we will see another round of substantial enrollment increases that our students are able to take advantage of. Ultimately, it gives people options and it gives them a trajectory of success. It becomes a transformative power for our community. And, you know, frankly, it's enabling people to grow professionally. And ultimately, these are people that are going to be engaged in our community in terms of leading our community and supporting the people who live here. So it's really a win-win for the community in general as we thrive, but we're enabling individuals to carry on with their education.
Anyone of any age without a prior degree who wants to take advantage of this free community college program should complete the free application for Federal Student Aid, or FAFSA, for the fall or spring semesters.
On Sunday, August 4th at 5:30 p.m., join the Cordial Eye Gallery for a community vigil honoring the life of Sonia Massey and others who were unjustly murdered by the police. On July 6, Sonia Massey called 911 to report a possible prowler at her home in Springfield, Illinois. Body cam footage shows responding officers interviewing Massey in her home before requesting that she turn off her stove, a request to which she obliged and was ultimately killed for. Former officer Sean Grayson shot Massey in the face 3 times after threatening her for removing a pot of boiling water from the stove. Cordial Eye Gallery encourages participants to bring candles and readings to share with a suggested donation of $10.
Last Thursday, July 25th, Barnstable police officers responded to a Barnstable playground in the area of Mary Dunn Road and Independence Drive for reports of a 7-year-old child who had been struck in the leg with an unknown projectile. The child was transported and treated at Cape Cod Hospital for an apparent entry and exit wound on their shin. The child was released from the hospital and is expected to make a full recovery. Barnstable officers conducted an extensive search for evidence, after which they concluded the child was likely struck by a BB from a BB gun. The investigation remains ongoing, and anyone with information regarding the incident is encouraged to call Detective Christopher Botsford at 774-339-0764 or email 275@barnstablepolice.com.
6 affordable apartment units in West Dennis are available via an equal housing opportunity lottery. 5 one-bedroom units and 1 two-bedroom unit are available at 775 Main Street Apartment Complex. Applications are available at the Town of Dennis Planning Department on Route 134 and are due on August 27th by 4 p.m. Direct all questions about the application to Housing Coordinator Maggie Spade Aguilar at mspade-aguilar@town.dennis.ma.us.
Centerville Old Home Week begins on Monday, August 5th, with a family ice cream social at Centerville Elementary School. From 6 to 8 p.m., enjoy 4 C's ice cream and fun activities for the whole family. Head to Centerville Community Events on Facebook and check out the week's events, including an annual village meeting, Hyena Sound concert, antique car show, and more.
The Massachusetts Department of Public Health announced last week that a mosquito sample collected in Barnstable tested positive for Eastern equine encephalitis, better known as Triple E. Triple E is a rare but serious illness spread by the bite of an infected mosquito. People under the age of 15 and over the age of 50 are at greater risk for serious illness from Triple E, but by taking a few precautions, this disease can be avoided. Apply insect repellent when outside and check the bug spray for important ingredients like DEET, permethrin, picardin, or oil of lemon eucalyptus. Make sure to follow the instructions on the product label. Wear long-sleeve shirts, pants, and socks while outside and avoid peak mosquito hours during the evening or early morning. Try draining standing water like gutters, empty flower pots, and bird baths to help decrease the mosquito population around your home.
And lastly, this evening, we send it to Ryan Downs with a recap of This Week in Sports.
Welcome back to the Cape Media News Sports segment. I'm your host and local sports guy, Ryan Downs. This week marks the last week of the regular season for the Cape Cod Baseball League, so let's get right into the weekly recap. starting off with the pitcher and player of the week. Last week, Chase Meggers, a 21-year-old catcher from the University of Oregon playing for the Bourne Braves, was named player of the week. He got a hit in each game he played in, totaling 7 hits, with 4 being extra base hits. His performance included a slash line of .467, .471, and .800, while driving in 4 runs. Since joining the Braves in mid-July, Meggers has recorded at least 1 hit per game and has a batting average of .375 and an OPS of .969. And Patrick Gala, a 20-year-old right-handed pitcher from Ole Miss playing for the Wareham Gatemen, was named pitcher of the week. He delivered 4 scoreless innings in relief over 2 appearances. On July 20th, Gala secured a win against Bourne by striking out 3 Braves in a single inning of relief. 5 days later, in his following appearance, he struck out 5 YD Red Sox over 3 innings, allowing just 3 hits across both games. This season, Gala has tallied 19 strikeouts in 14 2/3 innings pitched. And last Saturday was the 33rd annual East-West All-Star Game. This year, it took place at Gov Fuller Field, home of the Falmouth Commodores. The West All-Stars came out victorious in a 9-8 walk-off win. Hyannis outfielder Kane Kepley from North Carolina delivered the game-winning single in the bottom of the 9th, marking the first walk-off in Cape League All-Star Game history. Bourne's Ethan Conrad from Wake Forest was awarded West MVP honors with an RBI, a hit, and 2 runs scored. And YD's Easton Carmichael from Oklahoma was named East MVP, reaching base 4 times, adding an RBI and scoring 3 runs. The game went back and forth, with both teams scoring 4 runs in the first 4 innings. The East regained control with the 2-run homer in the 5th, eventually leading 8-4 by the 8th inning. A late rally by the West tied the game at 8-8 in the 9th, setting Kepley up for his heroics. Saturday's festivities also featured the annual home run contest. YD's Ethan Petrie from South Carolina won, hitting 12 homers and becoming the first YD player to win since Jason Cooper's back-to-back victories in 2000 and 2001. And now looking at the standings, there's been a shakeup in both divisions as the season is coming to a close. In the East, we have YD still in first place with a 23-10-4 record. They are also one of 2 teams in the East with a positive point differential of +34. Chatham is securely in second with a 19-18 record. And here's where things get a little crazy. Orleans has had a late surge, going 7-3 in their last 10 to put them momentarily in third with a 14-22 record. And I say momentarily because Harwich is in fourth with a record of 14-23. And it's not looking likely, but Brewster can somehow still be in the mix. They have not won a game since my last update 2 weeks ago when they had a record of 12-14-1 and a point differential of -8. They now have a record of 12-23-2 and a league worst point differential of -53. And it's a very different story in the West. Instead of the bottom 3 teams competing for the last playoff spot, they have almost 4 teams now competing for the top spot. Hyannis has gone from 3rd in our last update to now holding the top spot in the West. They have won 7 of their last 10 games to give them a 22-14-1 record. They also have a league-best positive 53-point differential. Cotuit is knocking at the door of that first-round playoff bye in second place with a record of 21-14-1. And Wareham is not far off either, as they have a record of 20-16-1. But you can't overlook Bourne. They've had the best bounce back in the second half of this season. With an 18-16-2 record, they're 8-2 in their last 10 games. They're also on a 4-game win streak. They seem to figure it out at the perfect time, as they will be the hottest team heading into the postseason. And while being in 4th place, they have a league second best point differential of +35. Which just leaves Falmouth. It's looking like their season will come to an end on Sunday as they have a record of 14-21-1. And that's it for this week's sports update. Back to you, Jamie and Mitch.
Thank you for joining us this evening. If you have a story you'd like to see covered, send us an email at newstip@capemedia.org.
And tune in every week for more hyperlocal news that matters on Channel 26, Apple TV, Roku, and Fire TV.
Be sure to follow us on all of our social media, including Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. For Cape Media News, I'm Jamie Horton.
And I'm Mitch Stock.